Boom! The University of Texas wins the 2024-2025 Athletic Directors Cup by Learfield. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Dr. Brett Wilkinson, who's been covering this all year long with directors' updates. Brett, it came down to the wire late Saturday night, just moments ago. You look like you were sweating it out there. Such a close finish, not just between Texas and USC, but even Stanford made a run at it late in this overall team race.
You know, you think you see how it's going to play out, and then all of a sudden Stanford's making a run. And I'm like, oh, let me run the numbers on Stanford here. And you know what? I had told the man himself, Chris Del Conte, that Texas had won. And the next thing I know, the 5K is under protest. And if something had happened where the Stanford runner got bumped up one spot, Stanford would have won the Directors' Cup. But that protest, they didn't change those standings. Texas holds on to win. It's got to be the closest Directors' Cup finish in the 29-year history of the championship.
I tell you what, we've got the scores here, and Texas finishes with 1,255 points. USC with 1,253, and Stanford with 1,251. It was that close. Brett, you were tracking this. If USC would have won the national championship in women's track and field tonight and had a double in outdoor track and field for men and women, they would have beaten Texas in the Directors' Cup as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. They would have definitely won. And I tell you what, had they not tied with Texas A&M in men's, that would have been 5 additional points because they had to divide the points between USC and Texas A&M. So, you know, we don't say this often on the channel, but gig 'em. You know, thanks to our brothers to the east, the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies. Whoop! Because that cost USC 5 points, and that would have been the difference in the Directors' Cup.
I wonder if the Aggies would have thrown that national championship away, not to help Texas win the Directors' Cup. Hey, in all seriousness, you've been covering this all year long. It felt like the Longhorns kind of limped to the finish this year, with baseball being outed in the regionals, and then men's and women's track, men's track in particular, not finishing strongly. This also goes to say if the Texas softball team doesn't win the national championship and loses 10 points there, they would have lost they could have lost that way. I mean, it was nip and tuck the entire way. A 1.5 point win overall for an entire athletic department, just unbelievably close.
Yeah, what an important finish by softball. You know, they really came through in the clutch. And, you know, when we've been projecting these scores, the projected score for Texas for the longest time was close to 1,300 points. And we see they came back to the field. USC's projected score has been around 1,250. So it's not that USC really caught up to Texas. It was that Texas had some major fallbacks. You're right, it was baseball. And then it was especially the men's track team really falling back to the field and making this much closer than it should have been.
And that's what I was talking about, falling back to the pack. The Longhorns, for those of you who didn't follow this, like Brett was following it, on Friday, the hurdler for the Longhorns, finished 7th? Is that right? After getting injured off the first hurdle in the men's, and that hurt the ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I don't think he finished at all.
Yeah, you didn't finish at all. And then tonight, she actually finished 7th, but then got DQ'd later, which took away points. And she was expected to be, I think, a top 4 finisher. And so the whole thing was a crazy run to the end there. But the University of Texas finishes this out. I got to ask you this, Brett, because you've been doing this for a while now. Texas currently, at least it looks like to me, 4 out of 5 Directors' Cups after Stanford pulled off 25 in a row.
25 in a row.
Is this something that you think that Texas can? I mean, they're obviously doing well. Even did it in the SEC in the first year, but USC is a newcomer to this in some respects, and I'm wondering if their foray into the Big Ten, as opposed to competing against Stanford in all those Olympic sports in the what used to be the Pac-10 or Pac-12, has helped elevate that program to where it might be a competitor for Texas going forward?
I think the big headline for this year is really not that USC did an amazing job. I mean, they did. Let's not take that away from them. But Stanford and Texas really had kind of off years. Usually they're winning the Directors Cup with 1350 points, not 1250. So it was really Texas and Stanford both kind of falling back to the pack. USC had a great year overall. I don't know if getting, out of the shadow, so to speak, of Stanford in some of these sports helps. It probably doesn't. They still compete with Stanford in a lot of sports that they excel at, like water polo, for example. And I think that competition does help them overall because then when they hit the national stage, they're ready to compete. But I think looking forward, I think Stanford could improve quite a bit. Texas, you look at all the meat Texas left on the bone this year. I think they can improve quite a bit. And I think the story going forward is going to continue to be Texas and Stanford scoring in the 1300s and the competition really struggling to score that many points.
Yeah, it was a very interesting year for sure. And the last of it, Texas wins national championships in men's swimming and diving, softball, and did they win another national championship, or those are the two national championships this year?
It was those two, and then top three finishes in women's basketball, rowing, football, women's swimming and diving, and men's tennis. So that's 7 top 3 finishes. I see quickly 3 more top 5 finishes, and then another 3 top 10 finishes. So that's the story for Texas, just finishing really highly in a vast majority of their sports. They had some sports struggle at the bottom end more so than they've had in the past. In the past, it's been up and down, 10 or 11 teams finishing in the top 10 at least. This year, the bottom of the scorecard, and it's a lot of track and field cross-country teams, really hurt Texas this year. And of course, men's basketball with the overall lowest score this year. So, we wouldn't have all been having heart attacks today had it not been for, a loss to Xavier, for example.
Hey, Brett, I got to ask you, hey, Matt, our producer, Matt, is on behind the scenes. Can you focus in on the Texas scoreboard there, if possible? I just want to go down the finishes of all the Texas scores. He's going to create that for us, Brett, so we can kind of look point by point. And I know there's some specific instances of this that change things up, but here we go as we look a little closer at this and what it means, I guess. Starting off with women's volleyball, finished 9th, which is a little down to your point. Texas has been better than that in volleyball. Men's basketball only gets 5 points total for its round of 68, I guess. So finishing 65th. Women's basketball, a big driver there, entering the Final Four. Baseball got 50 points for going to the regional. That was a little bit of a disappointment after winning the SEC regular season crown. But then there's 2 back-to-back 100s in your point, the 100s from swimming and diving and softball. Let me ask you this. Those 4 sports, do they have to be counted in Directors' Cup? Is that why you have them above that first line?
Yep, those are the 4 old required sports, and the Directors' Cup caught me slipping. This year, they actually added women's soccer to the required sports as well. So I'm going to have to refigure about 300 spreadsheets to put women's soccer at the top as well. But fortunately, that didn't have any impact on the final scores of really any of the top teams this year. But those are 5 required sports now. And I would say let's add a 6th and let's make it football. But that's just my opinion.
Well, I think that would have been something that Texas fans would agree with. Golf finished 5th. Men's tennis, a 3rd. They finished in the semifinals as well. Women's swimming and diving finishing 3rd. You get a chance. Women's golf in the top 5. Women's outdoor track and field finishing 10th tonight. Women's tennis top 10. Beach volleyball making a new appearance, finishing 5th. That was good for some points for Chris Del Conte. He's probably happy he added that sport tonight. And then you have women's soccer, men's indoor track and field, women's cross country, and men's outdoor track and field. Those two below the fold there, below that last line, it's my understanding those two sports don't count because your two lowest sports or your sports beyond number 19 or 20 do not count. Is that accurate?
Yep, it's now the 5 required sports, and then it's your next 14. So yeah, that's how I show it. Below that bolded line, women's indoor track and men's cross country are both dropped this year.
Brett, you look at it, and where did you see Texas gain points this year and leak points, I guess is the best way to put it, in this scenario?
Yeah, cross country at Texas has not been a strength in a long time necessarily. So they've had some better finishes recently. I think the men's cross country finished in the top 10 not too long ago, but historically cross country hasn't been great. So that's not a huge change. I think looking at those track and field scores really hurt us. So we got to see both track and field teams improve. And as you can see, there's indoor and outdoor that are both included. So if your track and field teams struggle, that's 4 of your sports, and then add on cross country, which is related to that as well. So I'd really like to see those teams improve. Looking at beach volleyball, you mentioned, they made the tournament. That was great. I think making the tournament was worth 40 points for them. And then they got a win and advanced to the top 8. And, that's the difference again. Every little point mattered in this. And beach volleyball, their first year of real competition, making it to the final 8 teams, that was huge.
Yeah, and that is a program that may end up getting better over time too, based on who they hired.
I think they're going to be better next year. They have some international signees that I don't think were eligible this year for whatever reason. They've got some really strong players, some transfers that are coming in. I think they might be Final Four next year, if not better.
All right. I tell you what, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. We want to say thank you to Dr. Brett Wilkinson for his ongoing coverage of this update and of the Directors' Cup. University of Texas national champions, the nation's best athletic department. Congratulations to Chris Del Conte, Chris Plonsky, Drew Martin, all the folks over Sean Eichhorst, all of them inside the Moncrief Newhouse facility in Belmont Hall. All of them deserve a hat tip from us Texas fans. The nation's best college sports athletic department exists and resides in Austin, Texas. Brett, anything final from you before we let you go tonight?
I just wanted to say thanks to all the people. I see some people on the chat that I also saw on Twitter tonight following along with me. This was a fun moment in time for sure, watching how this played out. So that's why this is so fun to watch and, keep up with. It really adds a lot of interest and intrigue to, a national championship that otherwise we might not have been paying so close of attention to. So it was a lot of fun tonight following this, following it with you guys. All the commentary has been great and hilarious. And, we get to light up that tower one more time this athletic season. So let's do it.
I think Del Conte may get a raise off of this, or at least a bonus.
Yeah, he deserves one for sure.
All right, Dr. Brett Wilkinson, thank you so much, man, and congratulations once again to the University of Texas. Hook 'em horns, guys.
Hook 'em.